Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. On behalf of the Environmental Finance Center Network, welcome to today's webinar, From Plan to Progress, Investing in Your Green Stormwater Infrastructure Workforce. My name is Zoe Eisel from the Syracuse University Environmental Finance Center. Before we begin, we're going to go over a few logistics and then we can get started. During the webinar today, everyone will be kept on mute to ensure audio quality. If you have a question, please type it into the GoToWebinar question box anytime throughout the session. We will be saving your questions for a facilitated Q&A session at the end of the presentation. GoToWebinar has recently gone through an update, and you can now add live captions, raise your hand, or react using emojis. After the webinar, you will receive a follow-up email that includes a link to the recording and other information you may need. You can also download the slides from today in the Handouts tab in your GoToWebinar control panel. This webinar has not been submitted for pre-approval of continuing education credits, but eligible attendees will receive a certificate of attendance for their personal record. To receive a certificate for this session, you must attend the entire session and register and attend individually using your real name and unique email address. Certificates will be sent via email within 30 days of the webinar date. If you have questions or need assistance, please contact smallsystems@syr.edu. Now for a little bit about us. The Environmental Finance Center Network provides training and technical assistance to small water and wastewater systems in all U.S. states and territories through our building technical, managerial, and finance capacity programs. If your community or utility needs assistance with drinking water or wastewater system management, please feel free to contact us through our request form, which I will be sharing shortly in the chat. One of the many ways EFCN can support you or your community and utility is through our free funding application support. Struggling with an infrastructure funding application, falling short on project funding, not sure where to start? EFCN is here to help. Use the link in the chat to submit a request and receive tailored support based on your project's needs. And on that note, we can get started. I would like to introduce our presenters for the day, Aaron Kirkland, and Grounds Maintenance Superintendent, and Darren Brown, Grounds Maintenance Crew Chief, both from the Philadelphia Water Department. Welcome, Aaron and Darren, and I will go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Zoe. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Aaron Kirkland. I am the Ground Maintenance Superintendent with the Philadelphia Water Department. And joined with me today is Darren Brown, and he's one of our ground maintenance crew chiefs, which is essentially our foreman. Today, we'll be walking through how Philadelphia invested in its GSI workforce, why it mattered, how it evolved, and what made it possible. Philadelphia is a three-pronged utility. We manage drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater. In Philadelphia, our strategy has been to invest heavily in green stormwater infrastructure while also expanding our existing treatment plant and interceptor capacity. Over a 25-year period, that combined investment totals roughly $2.4 billion and is designed to reduce combined sewer overflows by 85%. So GSI, it isn't just a side project for us. It's a part of a long-term systems level approach to water management. This slide shows some examples of GSI installed directly in the public right-of-way. These are systems people interact with every day, including sidewalk planters, tree trenches, and because of that visibility, how these systems look and function really matters. GSI also lives on vacant lands and facilities like parking lots. These sites often manage large drainage areas and they play a critical role in overall system performance. Even though they may not always be visible to the public, these systems are just as important. And finally, GSI and parks and recreation centers. These systems not only manage stormwater, but they also enhance green space. They improve the user experience for our residents. And again, functionality and aesthetics, they go hand in hand. I want to pause right here. This is a project I really like. This specific project is North American Street in the Kensington section of Philadelphia. For those who are familiar with Philadelphia, this is a 2 mile corridor, and it includes more than 50 GSI tools, managing runoff from over 50 acres of impervious urban surfaces. This project was delivered through federal funding and deep coordination across multiple city departments. And it shows how green infrastructure can be part of a broader neighborhood revitalization and still meet water quality goals. For us to understand how green stormwater operations became what it is today, we must begin with an overview. So our maintenance model, again, it didn't just start fully built out. In FY 2010, the GSI Maintenance Group was created within the Office of Watersheds, initially managing a small number of pilot sites. It was roughly 21 pilot sites, and we heavily relied on contractors for our maintenance. But as the GSI network expanded, it became clear that maintenance needed to be operationalized. And in 2017, this small group, GSIMN, moved into PWD operations and became the Green Stormwater Operations Unit. When we moved, we integrated technical staff such as park water techs, environmental scientists, and engineers, along with our ground maintenance staff. We also leveraged internal divisions and external partners to support the rapid growth of these systems. This transition allowed us to scale maintenance capacity in a sustainable way. Uh, I want to highlight what it takes to get this done. This is a snapshot of time. I think the data speaks volumes of the number of work orders we were able to complete as of FY25. I want to start off with pre-maintenance surface inspections. The first 2 years is the establishment period for our systems. We prescribed our frequency by SMP type, and these work orders are automated. But after the establishment phase, pre-maintenance inspections ensures prescriptive maintenance events, and it helps for proper planning for our crews. When we implement an inspection work order, there is a checkbox for no maintenance. We found out that systems do not need as much maintenance frequency, and that allows us to maximize on efficiency. Uh, Highlighting routine maintenance, it's important because routine maintenance is how we maintain our desired aesthetic look, our functionality, and it lets pervasive issues like weeds, sediment accumulation, erosion, um, help us keep that contained. Aesthetic maintenance is more of a lower intensity maintenance to maintain the desired aesthetic look in between our routine maintenance events. We also use aesthetic maintenance work orders in response to complaints. Though we're not complaint driven, we do want to respond to our residents. Post-construction inspections, they ensure that compliance with design and construction and ensure that we're inheriting a functional system with no underlying subsurface issues. Surface inlet protection maintenance is high in frequency, as you can see, over 21,000 work orders in FY25, but this reduces the intensity of our annual subsurface flushing. I know this slide has a lot, but it shows the complexity of so many moving parts when developing a unit from the ground up. This is our journey, how we developed from contract development to SOPs and manual development, hiring and training new staff, program development, but at the same time, our maintenance needs were growing. Our workforce model was evolving. I want to highlight PowerCore PHL. If you follow the arrow on the slide, but they became a critical partner and they help buffer contract gaps, manage logistics, and provide capacity while PWD was still building internal systems. This partnership became the foundation of our Green Jobs pipeline. At the end of our relationship, well, our relationship with PowerCore, Members who had completed the program entered into our PWD apprenticeship program. They became full-time staff with either PWD grounds or our PWD flow control team. And then some experienced Power Core members were employed by our GSO contractors. So there were two paths at this time that members who had completed the program could go. So it started as support for PowerCore. It quickly became strategy. PowerCore PHL is a workforce development organization. They train young adults in environmental and infrastructure work, including green stormwater infrastructure maintenance. They focus on hands-on field experience, professional development, and creating pathways into long-term careers. Starting out, PowerCore crew members, they weren't just doing the work. They were often community ambassadors. They were community members themselves, but they helped explain why GSI mattered and how it improved quality of life. That connection was important, especially to communities that have been historically underserved and marginalized. This work goes beyond just picking up trash. Power Core's aesthetic maintenance program was the beginning of GSI maintenance from our workforce development groups. But removal of sediment and debris, it was critical for the function of GSI, lessening the likelihood of loss of soil infiltration capacity, blocking of flow entrances and flow paths, removal of loose debris. It prevented clogged overflow drains and provided aesthetic benefits for the community. I want to highlight that when residents see consistent care from our Power Core members, we build trust, and that trust matters. Members also develop a sense of pride within their crew membership, and there's power in pictures. If you look at the slides of both before and after shot of work that was being done, but this shot shows that the impact of just one maintenance event. As Power Core continued to grow with the Philadelphia Water Department, their program expanded too into more routine maintenance. So as crew skill levels increased, we were able to assign them more complex maintenance work. At the same time, we had to build the logistics from the ground up, dealing with issues like waste disposal. They accumulated more waste, transporting staff from one location to the next, watering, providing proper supervision, but all of that had to scale up slowly, and we had to be intentional about scaling their work up. Building the future through apprenticeship. The apprenticeship is the bridge between workforce development and permanent civil service. As the need for more skilled workers increased within GSO, we worked on developing partnerships with workforce development programs, but also local high schools with horticulture focus. In our apprenticeship program, we offer three things. We offer on-the-job training, we offer mentorship where a new enrolled apprentice will be paired with a more seasoned staff member that will become their mentor, and the apprenticeship program also offers classroom instruction for professional development or any needs that the staff person may have after completing Power Core or high school. I want to note that it's important that we hire apprentice when we have a vacancy. We want to have an end game for the staff person, so we are intentional on how we develop this person and how we create the position for this person at the end of their apprenticeship. Our apprenticeship program is from 6 to 12 months, and during that time, they are working and learning and hopefully towards upward mobility. So if you see on the slide, you got the temporary apprenticeship title. After 6 months to a year, they transition into an entry level position. They test for the position. And then after another year or so of time in the entry level role, they'll move into the more intermediate level. For our unit, it's the ground maintenance worker two. And then by then they're at full performance level. And our HR department, our workforce development program partners, they are involved throughout this whole process as this person is moving along. Through this structure, staff development, certifications, field maintenance skills, inspections, and planning capabilities are enhanced. Um, these these trainings aren't abstract. They support advancement into leadership and specialized roles. I want to highlight the Center for Watershed Protection Agency. They have a clean water certificate training program where they train the trainer. It's an ANSI accredited program. They cover anything from surveying to GSI maintenance itself. But we also have our internal ground maintenance training, which covers erosion control, structural repair, early spring and fall planting, hydrant training. We want all our staff to know how to operate a hydrant safely. But training is very important when we're trying to develop our staff and our unit. At the end of the day, our goal is really to build green industry professionals, people with transferable skills who can grow not only within PWD if they choose, but across the broader green economy. And that's what we've been able to accomplish so far. A large percent of our staff now have gone through either the apprenticeship program or some form of workforce development partnership. And we really pride ourselves on doing excellent work and developing people to become leaders within our unit. How it all comes together. So, data is very important. Early on, the data that PowerCore provided through their maintenance tasks was essential into for us to advocate for the growth of our program. If you look at the slide, they are some big numbers, 10,000 plus tasks of work orders completed from within a 10-year time span. Um, and I really want to highlight this 46 tons removed in FY 2021. But from the beginning, we were intentional about data collection. That data helped us move proof of concept to long-term investment. It allowed us to justify routine maintenance and workforce development and also scaling. Like I said, a lot of our staff have come through workforce development. 35 Power Core PHL alumni transitioned to full-time PWD positions during this time frame. Key takeaways, I would say PowerCore and Greenstone Water Operations really grew together because we needed each other. This partnership was out of necessity. Early on, PowerCore helped us deal with some real contract challenges, both from a cost standpoint and logistics. PowerCore also helped fill gaps when contracts were in transition. Sometimes we were in transition with bids, and our sites went neglected. But at the time when PWD was still building this program internally, PowerCore was a program we could lean on. Over time, that relationship turned into a true pipeline. PowerCore staff came in with experience. They moved into our apprenticeship program and then into full-time roles with PWD or our contractors. But we were intentional about using data to help us grow from the proof of concept again into something scalable. As skills increase, we could take on more complex work. We can catch small issues early and avoid long-term costs that come with deferred maintenance. I believe Darren's story brings this all together. Darren is our ground maintenance crew chief. He leads one of our 6 crews in the 3 districts that we maintain in Philadelphia. He started off as a community apprentice and now is a leader and a mentor. I want to turn it over to Darren so that he can share his experience.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. Um, how y'all doing, everybody? Good afternoon. My name is Darren Brown. I am the crew chief at the Philadelphia Water Department. My journey in the green infrastructure began through a workforce development program called Power Corps PHL, where I served as a AmeriCorps member. During that time, I was intrigued to learn about how to invest more of myself into the community. So I started learning about plant and tree identification. I learned about how to remove invasive species from the environment, and just how to care for the environment itself. All this work that I was doing, it was building purpose, it was building something meaningful for myself, and it was also teaching me that the work that I was doing was not only more than about maintenance, it was about giving back to the communities that I was raised in. After my term was ending with Power Course PHL, I started to look for what was next for me. And I was offered an opportunity to work with the Philadelphia Water Department as a community apprentice. I also had an opportunity to interview for another opportunity with a contractor for the city. Both were good roles, both had good upward mobility, but it was something more meaningful for myself when I looked at the work that I was ready to, gear my future towards. So, as being a civil servant, I know what the city offered, good benefits, good pathways to leadership. I chose to take the apprenticeship role. And during my time as an apprentice, I started to grow and I started to invest more into myself. And what that investment started looking like, being an apprentice, it offered short courses at the community college of Philadelphia. And then I also learned how to install traffic bollards to promote public safety. And I planted vegetation into our stormwater systems to help support that. All these experiences that I was getting was just helping me grow a little bit more, making me a little more skillful, and it was preparing me for my next role, which I was becoming a full-time civil service employee as a ground maintenance and facilities worker one. That title, and it gave me more hands-on training. So what those trainings started to look like, as Aaron mentioned previously in the slides, was erosion control, work zone safety, and tree pruning. All these were skills that I had touched on a little bit during my time as a community apprentice and a little bit with Power Corps, but when I came to the water department and was a full-time civil service, it was time to make myself a little bit more valuable, add a little bit more value to my skill sets. So I wanted to, I needed to be more focused, more determined, and more prideful in the work I was doing. So after a year being a ground maintenance worker one, I promoted to a ground maintenance worker two. And this was when our unit was in its growth state. We switched over to green stormwater operations, and under green stormwater operations, we started taking on more large scale projects. These projects started to need more equipment, more accessibility to handle these large scale projects. So we started learning how to operate tractors and our zero turn mowers to cut down vegetation to certain height requirements. And then I gained a valuable skill, well, a trade that I take pride in using in and outside of work, which is masonry. So when I look at all these skills, all the skill, everything that it was preparing me for, it led me into my current role, which I am today as a crew chief. I am responsible for a large amount of work in the Belmont district, which is the West Philly part of the city. During my role there, I'm making sure that work is completed safely and efficiently. I'm hands-on with my crew each and every day. I'm making sure that we hitting our three aspects of maintenance, which is routine, preventative, and reactive. So when we talk about routine maintenance, as you can see in the picture here, is referring to like tree pruning. It could be anything from removing sediment for any of our GSI systems. It refers to just removing invasives. It refers to all the aesthetics that is required to keep this system functioning. So when we look at preventative maintenance, we looking at what is needed to help the community know that these systems exist. Why is it? How can we keep it safe from having any hazardous effects to them to prevent the functionality from being possible? So We do things like what I talked about as a community apprentice. We install traffic bollards. These help ongoing traffic see these systems before they are crashed into, prevent any hazards for the community. When we look at reactive maintenance, this is things that happen. Sometimes we have concrete panels that crack. This is where my masonry skills came into play, where I teach my team how to react to these incidents that we occur and we make them high priority. So when I'm using our asset management system and I see that there's something dropped into my inbox about something being high maintenance, something that needs to get done right away. It may be a concrete panel, and we have to remove that material. We have to make sure we create good work zone safety. And I got to make sure my team is equipped with the proper tools, the proper safety gear to complete these projects, because not only are we making it safe for the public, but we got to make sure that our team members are making it home each and every day to get home to their families. So my job in the field as being a mentor, I'm coaching. I'm not just being hands-on delegating tasks. I'm also working with them each and every day, making sure that the work that we doing is not just being told what to do. I'm teaching them why we do it is because that the community benefits the most from it. And also it teaches them skill sets that are transferable when if they want to become leaders or if they want to leave this job, whatever that future may look like for them, they gonna be well equipped. And my team takes pride in a lot of the work that we do. We are like the go-to team here out of the 6 teams here at GSO, our Green Stormwater Operations Unit. We handle anything far as concrete. We handle structural repairs. We handle if a hazard event happen. We are prideful in getting the job done, and we make sure our work is completed safely and efficiently. If you see in the picture here, this is me delegating some tasks to one of my ground maintenance worker too. And also I have a ground maintenance worker two and 2 ground maintenance worker ones that I work with, David Dickerson and Miguel Medina. They are my ground maintenance worker one crew. And then I have Sasha Winters, who is the ground maintenance worker two. She is more like the go-to person when I'm in the field. If I got to handle anything far as entering data into the asset management system, I delegate tasks to Sasha Winters so that she relays it back to the ground maintenance worker one. She oversees any work to make sure it's getting completed. If I'm not available to be on site or even on site, but I may be handling something else. So I'm training my team to be effective whether I'm near or not there. They are well equipped to take on projects and complete them safely and efficiently. And when you look at investing in people and developing these workforces about mentoring, but it's also about coaching too as well. And it's about being not just hands-on with them, but just being able to be a leader in a role like this is valuable to them because they get to see that once I was a former apprentice as well and I promoted through these title tracks and they came through the same track as me from being everybody on my crew was apprentices before and now they all promoted into full-time permanent civil service workers. So that's something to be proud of. That's something to look forward to. And most of the crews that I done supervised, all of them was former apprentices and promoted into permanent civil service titles. This is due to hard work. This is due to good mentoring that I received. And I take these same qualifications in the same time that people invested in me. And I take that and get it to the crews that I work with. So I think that is very paramount to be, a leader and a good person that they can see that came from the same similar backgrounds as them, and they have something to look forward to far as when they want to promote or become leaders or crew chiefs in the future. This is important for their roles and for their growth. And I would like to say that this is not just a theory. This is proof that when you invest into people, you get performance you can trust, you get systems that last, and you see that the community will benefit. So I'd like to thank y'all for allowing me to present today. Um, at the bottom, me and Aaron emails are available, and we going to have some time for questions. And if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, feel free to reach out to me and Aaron at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'd like to encourage everyone on right now to drop any questions they have in the questions box, and I'll read them out to Aaron and Darren so we can start the Q&A session of this presentation. I'll start them off with a question we already have, which is, can all green stormwater infrastructure staff benefit from workforce development, or do you think it's best for some folks and not others?
Zoe, I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, of course. So the question is, can all green stormwater infrastructure staff benefit from workforce development? Or do you think it's best for some folks and not for others?
Absolutely. I think all of our staff benefit from workforce development. It depends on what level the staff person is at as far as their title. So like if for Darren, for instance, he may need a refresher on our asset management system. He may need to take some leadership courses on conflict resolution, so I think it depends on where the staff person is at, but I'm a leader that definitely believes in training for myself and for my staff. We have to keep learning and developing, and that's the only way we can continue to train other people that come in.
Great answer, thank you. We have another question from the chat, which is, what are some of the most impactful projects you've completed for stormwater?
Mm. Aaron, if I could touch on that one.
Oh, go ahead.
Um,
Talk about West Philadelphia.
we had a tremendous project that we had to, at the Hurricane Ida hit. We had a chance to go over to Venice Island, which is in the Manayunk district. At the Hurricane Ida hit, we had to restore a lot of that vegetation. A lot of the system repair needed work on because it destroyed a lot. That was one of our most catastrophic events that we had in the city for us the past years. And that I believe that was one of the largest projects that I have ever been involved in because it required a lot of heavy equipment. It required a lot of assistance from Power Core. It required a lot. It required our full green stormwater maintenance teams to be involved in. We needed everybody there. It was a hands-on project. It was something that we never seen happen in the city and never seen happen to any of our green stormwater systems. So this was something that it gave us an opportunity to work together, but also revitalize the community to get it back to operational standards.
Great, thank you. The next question is, we have quite a few people wondering the size of your maintenance team.
Oh, so as far as our ground maintenance staff, we have about 35 staff members currently. We have a few vacancies that we've just completed some interviews for, but we're still growing. So for this one facility that we're operating out of now, we're probably gonna cap out at 40, 45. But we're also working on a second facility to double the size of our group currently for systems that are coming online in the next few years. On top of that, though, we have a data services support clerk that helps us with some administrative responsibilities. We have two ground maintenance supervisors, Lewis and Malik, who go out and do QA/QC efforts. And then we have technical staff that don't report into our location, but still is a part of GSO. And they may have about maybe 20 to 30 folks over there with engineers, scientists, tech, water park techs. helping with inspections and things like that.
Thank you. That's really helpful. As a follow-up, we also have some questions wondering if the group is funded by the stormwater fee or if you receive funding from the city's general fund.
I can't really speak on exactly how we're funded. I mean, I work on our operation budget, but I'm not sure exactly where those funds come. If it's just under the full umbrella of PWD.
Thank you. And then we also have some people wondering if you work with any unions to grow the group.
Yeah, so we have two unions in Philadelphia. We have well in the water department, we have DC 33, District Council 33, and District Council 47. Some of our staff are in District Council 47, and majority of our ground maintenance staff is in District Council 33. It is a union job. I'm pro union. I love unions. But you know, it comes with a lot of good resources. They're very supportive of the growth of our unit, and because it adds more members. Even you come in as a temporary employee, community apprentice, we have intentions of, like I said, we don't hire unless we have a vacancy. So we have intentions to have a spot for you, and that essentially will become a union member.
Thank you. And on that note, we have a question asking if you could elaborate on the training. Is it as needed?
So initially, when you first enter our unit, we have orientation, we have training. We may run you through the Center for Watershed Protection Agency's training, and then we have our internal ground maintenance training. The way we train our staff is we connect the training to the work that's coming up. So, as we're going into pruning season, we're in now, we're pruning now. Right before we initiate pruning work orders, we initiate a pruning training. And we have levels to our pruning training. So if it's apprentice, we might not go too in depth about the health of the tree and some of the other terminologies that would prep you to become an arborist. But as you're moving up, you know, we start scaling up on our trainings and the information given through the training. And like if we go into planting season in early spring, we have a planting training. What we're working on now is trying to, well, we're actually doing it. We're getting a lot of these trainings that we used to do presentations with slides, with PowerPoint into a LMS, a learning management system, so that we can be more efficient in how we train our folks. We've built a training room inside of our building with laptops and things like that, so that staff can work at their own pace and learn. We know there's multiple ways to learn. You have hands-on and other ways, but this training room is going to support that effort.
Thank
I do
you.
also want to highlight that if we see a error in maintenance, if we constantly see maybe our maintenance goals not being met or issues with, let's say, removal of desirables, then we will initiate a training. That's how we'll combat like bad habits or things we may see repetitiously.
Thank you. Another question we have is, what advice would you give if someone was interested in duplicating this effort in a different city?
So I know, you know, Philadelphia is a large city. We went full scale with our systems. One of the things we learned is that there is like a time gap in uh developing workforce, getting approvals um for testing and getting people transitioning into permanent positions. We have all of these things, so I think you want to start slow. I think our work grew faster than our staff. So we had to lean on contractors and Power Core as a buffer in between us building our internal workforce. Gerald Bright, he was the visionary. He was our supervisor. He's went on to the mayor's office to help them build their clean and green initiative. But he had a vision where sometimes our needs weren't met fast enough. So I would say incremental growth is best. It allows you to properly train people and having that buffer, maybe a contractor or some type of workforce development group that can support the effort until you can reach the place you need to be internally.
Thank you. Another question we have is, what has the biggest challenge that you've faced?
Hmm. The biggest challenge. For me, I mean, as a leader of the unit, I think when I first took over leadership, I didn't have a lot of experience. So sometimes when you're a new leader, you're very happy to take on more work, and you don't really see how it's going to get done, but you just accept it. And we increased our scope of work at one time where we didn't have the number of staff people we had today. So we were in three districts. We were expanding to the fourth district, and we was kind of losing some of our quality in our systems. And you know, as I grew in leadership, I realized that sometimes I have to say no in the moment. Like we cannot take more on until we have the needs to do so. So at that time, it impacted morale, but we had to scale back in order to regroup and then build the team that we needed necessary to take on more work. And Darren, have you had any projects where there was a challenge that you overcome? I know you had plenty.
Um, yeah, it's quite a few. There's quite a few projects where I see that sometimes dealing with maybe uh some employees that may be more skilled than others is it comes a challenge where we have to get these people trained. Like if I'm doing a concrete project and I may have an apprentice, they may not know what to do, but this is where I lean on towards my ground maintenance worker two or my ground maintenance worker ones to be more informative because sometimes I can't be as hands-on with training somebody while I'm also trying to delegate tasks and stuff like that. So sometimes it do becomes a issue with just having somebody who's just starting. And usually when I have a crew, I'm taking on mostly a larger project or anything that we see as high priority. So I'm always got to make sure that I'm making these projects and I'm trying to restore the communities back as best as possible and make sure these systems are functioning as best as possible. So sometimes I lean on to having more of an experienced crew, but I don't turn down no work. So my job is always to whatever I got to work with, I'm gonna work with it and I get it done. But it becomes a challenge sometimes having some people who is others. But so sometimes it's not as sorry, my internet going out. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so some of the challenges people that just, may not have as much skill as others and they feel like they don't know, but my job is to make them comfortable, let them know that you will be there because I'm gonna make sure you get there. I'm going to invest in you. So I usually take on a lot of our newer staff, apprentices that we get, they usually start off on my crew and I train them. And by the time they go somewhere else, they well equipped with the knowledge, the skills, and the tools and stuff they need to promote into that ground maintenance worker one title.
Thank you, Darren. And I have another question specifically for Darren. What was it that most attracted you to this type of work? And how would you suggest recruiting folks to do this type of work in traditionally underserved communities?
So what first got me intrigued into doing ground green stormwater infrastructure work was when I first started with Power Core, I wasn't doing any green work. I was doing work that entitled more of just land care, tree identification, removing invasives. So when I gained my opportunity to become a community apprentice, this one I was like switching my skill sets and I came in green. I didn't know anything. I was like, it was like a blank era of my life where I needed to adopt these skill sets and develop these skill sets immediately because I was willing to take on a role that I had no experience in, but I had knowledge of it. I learned about it before my interview. I went in there and I was completely honest. I said I never did no hands-on work with green stormwater infrastructure maintenance, but I know what the water department is intending to do moving forward in the future. So as I learned about it and then I started getting my hands-on experience, it made me more equipped. And that's what led me into continuing this path that I'm on. And so when I look at underserved communities and where we working at, when people see people of the same backgrounds as them, people who have had challenges, they wonder, how do I get into this role that you in? And I tell them, I say, I started from a very low position on a totem pole and I worked my way up to getting this blue shirt and supervising the team and stuff like that. It wasn't easy. It took time, it took hard work, it took pride and dedication. It was everything that I I was determined to see myself get. I wasn't willing to give up at all. So when I'm telling them how to get there, I say you got to start somewhere, and starting somewhere, maybe entering into like a workforce development program where you could develop some small skill sets, some soft skills, and these technical skills that we had. And then when we have opportunity for apprenticeship positions, when they apply for them, I remember these faces and I say, I talked to him before. I met him in Power Core and I think he'd be a good candidate, or, I may give a slight recommendation, but I tell him that it's not no guarantee that you may land here. You may want to take your skill set somewhere else, somewhere where you could develop a little faster, a little better. But what we offer here over in operations under our green infrastructure program, we offer this upward mobility for them to become leaders, and we train them to be skillful and professionals in the work that we do. So if it was any advice I give people, I tell them don't try to jump to being a leader and stuff like that. That takes training, that takes dedication, that takes some hard work and time.
Thank you for sharing that. Our next question is, what would you like project designers and landscape architects to think about when they're designing green stormwater infrastructure in order to design for maintainability?
I think the first thing is safety. I think sometimes maybe that isn't fully thought out. The size of our trucks, how will we access these systems? Sometimes they're like in a right of way, or they're in a zone that may be hazardous for our staff. So I would like to see ground maintenance staff more at the table, like Darren giving his perspective from some of the challenges he faces out in the field, and some of the other crew members. But Darren, anything come to mind?
What I see far as when it comes to designs is sometimes that we impacted by uh the community efforts as well. Sometimes the areas that these designs may land in is somewhere where we probably look at ourselves from being a community as not approvable, but when you look at where they put them at and the aspect of what they hope for them to do for the community, that's the bigger picture. And that's where I take pride in. Like a lot of these systems are built in a community where I was raised at. And I look at the area and say, oh, this is, crazy sometimes being here. But then again, when we start beautifying it and maintaining it and showing the community that this is helping improve, the aesthetics of this community, this is where I just try to, take pride in the work I'm doing and showing my team that, what we doing is going to impact this community, is going to help them probably hopefully want to maintain it outside of the work that we do ourselves to maintain these aspects.
Thank you. Our next question is, what asset data management software platform does the team use? And can you speak to the use of technology, so software, field computers, monitoring equipment in your work, ways that it's helpful, any issues you've experienced in that department?
Yeah, so our asset management system is called CityWorks. I like it. It's very user friendly for from our engineers, our scientists to our grounds maintenance staff. You can get like live data. Darren and the other crew chiefs, they have a tablet, a hard case tablet, where they can upload data right on the site, upload pictures, access our mapping system, find work order numbers, work order history. So I really like our asset management system. We also use Power BI to help create visuals for our crews so that they know that the work that they're doing, how it translates into data, and to set certain goals and see if they can hit their goals. We use a ton of access data to track if we've missed our goals, if a site hasn't been maintained within 30 days, 60 days, it helps us keep track. So I think our data software, it works for us, and we're always looking for new ways to become more efficient and effective with data.
Thank you. Our next question is, do you coordinate with other related city departments on maintenance and workforce development? For example, parks crews that also maintain similar landscapes, street trees, etc.
Yeah, we do partner. Parks and Recs has some GSI that they're responsible for. We recently did a training, a collaborated training, which Darren, you were a part of. If you want to touch on how the training went, that would be good.
When we initiated that training, it was to brief Parks and Rec on basically how do we maintain these systems. So we took them to some systems that were upcoming on maintenance events. So we were preparing to do routine maintenance on them, and since they was upcoming, that we took them to those sites. One of them was a rain garden in our Cobb Creek area near Chestnut Street, Cobb's and Chestnut. We took them there. We basically showed them what invasives to remove, what desirables we want to keep. How do we maintain it with less uh, machinery? Because sometimes the plant designs are when our plants start to grow and they start to look a little congested, either when we out in the field, we remove some of the plants and then we split them and then replant them in other areas to create space so that we can use some of our equipment such as weed whackers and things of that nature. But this experience with them was more showing them how do we maintain and keep the functionality and the aesthetic pleasing to the community. So we just trained them on certain desirables that we want to keep, some invasives that grow here in these sites, and then we showed them how do we prune these sites and use our hedge trimmers to trim back our bushes to just give it a nice, pleasing aesthetic look.
Thank you. And you just mentioned invasives, which is related to this next question. What is the biggest or worst invasive you have to deal with? And are phragmites a big issue?
I could say that some are almost aggressive, invasive. We have a few that are very aggressive, but I would say when I'm looking at our sites, we have some mugwort. They are very aggressive. We have thistles. They are very aggressive. We have burdock, some burdock plants that become very aggressive. These grow in some of our larger sites, such as rain gardens, our swells. Um, Most of the
Got
time, it's
Japanese knotweed.
yeah, Japanese knotweed. So these invasives seed a lot too. So it's and then when the wind blows, you got these seeds scattering and they develop and then starting to saturate into the soil, and then they become, they we gotta get on top of them right away so that they don't overpopulate our desirables and then start killing the plants that we want to maintain into these systems that help promote good functionality.
And we do deal with frag in some areas, and you know
Mhm.
they when they get in, they get really rooted. So our maintenance strategy has to adjust with dealing with frag.
Got it. Thank you. Our next question is, have you had to undergo any public outreach, and how did you get support for this unit? And similarly, have you faced any opposition for having this unit put in place?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, so have you done any public outreach? Like, how did you get support for this unit? And then have you also experienced any opposition about introducing this green stormwater infrastructure workforce?
Uh, yeah, I think like I said in the presentation, Power Core, which me and a lot of our staff have been a part of, were the first like community ambassadors to show green infrastructure and teach the community about green infrastructure. Um, we also have gone and done plenty of presentations with other city agencies, local high schools to talk about our program. We use that for recruitment or just to teach, what's going on in the city. Um, I want to highlight the Green Infrastructure Leadership Exchange. I know we mentioned in the last question, how have we connected with other cities? I think they do a good job with connecting cities across the country who have projects or are thinking about getting into green stormwater infrastructure. As far as opposition, I think the early years, some of our residents didn't really understand what was going on as far as these systems being constructed. They were taking up parking spaces, things like that. But over time, I think our public relations team at PWD did a good job of going out, talking to the community, having certain community events to educate our community members on why this work was important and how it impacted our city, So, there anything you want to add as far as?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that. Um, I can say that some of the challenges I did face was like some of the earlier construction of some of these sites where, like as Aaron mentioned, that the community just didn't understand why would they put this here? Why would they? Some people own their properties and don't want green infrastructure design there on their properties. They like, why is this here? I didn't ask for this, but they don't understand that the community is in need of it. It wasn't just about taking over your property or building something on something that you own or maintain. It was about that the community needed it. It was suffering without it, and we needed to take charge and make something happen so that the community can succeed in this functionality as well.
Thank you. And thank you to our attendees for having such an interactive Q&A session. Huge thank you to Aaron and Darren for sharing their expertise with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Following this webinar, you will receive a follow-up email with the slides from today and a link to the recording. We also ask that you complete the webinar evaluation following the webinar, so you can let us know your thoughts on today's session, as this helps us plan future webinars on topics important to you. Thank you again to Darren and Aaron. Thank you guys for attending, and we hope to see you at future EFCN events.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.